As we embark on this exploration together, I want you to remember that everything, yes, everything in your world is a reflection of your consciousness. The experiences you encounter, the people you meet, and the circumstances you face are all projections of your inner state. With this fundamental truth in mind, let us delve into the ways in which kindness, when misunderstood or misapplied, can indeed ruin your life, not in the conventional sense, but in a way that will ultimately lead to your transformation and awakening. Let us begin with the first way. Kindness, when stemming from a place of lack or unworthiness, can ruin your life by perpetuating a false self-image. Now, my dear friends, understand that true kindness is a natural expression of your divine nature. It flows effortlessly from a state of abundance, love, and self-worth. However, many of us have been conditioned to believe that we must be kind in order to be worthy of love, acceptance, or success. We use kindness as a means to fill a perceived void within ourselves. This kind of kindness, let's call it conditional kindness, is not really kindness at all. It is a mask we wear, a performance we put on in hopes of gaining approval, avoiding rejection. When we act from this place, we are not being true to ourselves. We are living in a state of lack, constantly seeking external validation to feel complete. But remember, you are already complete. You are already whole. You are a perfect expression of the divine, lacking nothing. When you perform acts of kindness from this state of lack, you are affirming to the universe that you are incomplete, that you need something outside of yourself to be worthy. And the universe, being the perfect mirror that it is, will continue to reflect this belief back to you. To truly understand this, we must revisit the law of assumption. Whatever you assume to be true, whatever state you occupy in your imagination, must be made manifest in your outer world. If you assume that you need to be kind to be worthy, you will continually find yourself in situations where your worth is questioned, where you feel compelled to prove yourself through acts of kindness. The solution, my friends, is not to cease being kind. Rather, it is to shift your consciousness to a state of completeness, of divine self-worth. From this state, kindness flows naturally, not as a means to an end, but as a joyful expression of your true nature. When you give from your overflow, rather than from a place of lack, you transform not only your own life, but the lives of those around you. Imagine, if you will, that you are a chalice filled to the brim with the purest, most radiant light. This light is your true essence, your divine nature. When you act from this state of fullness, your kindness becomes a natural overflow of this light. It does not deplete you, for you are constantly filled from an infinite source. This is the kindness that transforms, that uplifts, that truly makes a difference in the world. So, my dear listeners, if you find that your acts of kindness are leaving you feeling drained, unappreciated, or somehow less than, pause and examine your state of consciousness. Are you giving from lack or from abundance? Are you seeking to fill a void or expressing your innate completeness? Remember, the outer world is but a reflection of your inner state. Change your concept of self, and you change your world. Now, let us move on to the second way in which kindness, when misunderstood, can ruin your life. Kindness, when used as a means of avoiding conflict or suppressing your true feelings, can lead to a life of quiet desperation and unfulfillment. Many of us have been taught that being kind means always putting others first, never saying no, and avoiding any form of conflict. We smile and nod when we want to scream. We agree when we desperately want to disagree. We say yes when every fiber of our being is crying out to say no. This, my friends, is not kindness. This is self-betrayal masked as virtue. True kindness, rooted in self-love and authenticity, sometimes requires us to set boundaries, to speak our truth, even when it may cause temporary discomfort. When we consistently suppress our true feelings and desires in the name of being kind, we are denying our own divine nature. We are telling the universe that our needs, our desires, our very essence is less important than maintaining a facade of harmony. But remember, you are here to be fully, gloriously, unabashedly you. You are a unique expression of the divine with your own desires, your own path, your own purpose. When you consistently deny this in the name of misguided kindness, you are not only doing yourself a disservice, but you are denying the world the gift of your authentic self. Imagine, if you will, a beautiful instrument, perhaps a violin of the finest craftsmanship. This violin was created to produce the most exquisite music. But what if, in the name of kindness, this violin never allowed itself to be played? What if it remained silent, fearing that its music might disturb others or create conflict? The world would be robbed of its beautiful melodies, and the violin would never fulfill its purpose. You, my dear friends, are like this violin. You have within you a unique song, a divine melody that only you can play. When you silence yourself in the name of misguided kindness, you deny the world your music. You deny yourself the joy of full self-expression. So how do we remedy this? The answer lies, as always, in our consciousness. We must shift our concept of kindness from one of self-denial to one of authentic self-expression. True kindness includes kindness to oneself. It includes honoring your own needs, speaking your truth, and allowing yourself to be fully seen and heard. This doesn't mean becoming selfish or inconsiderate of others. Rather, it means finding a balance between honoring yourself and considering others. It means recognizing that your needs and feelings are just as valid and important as anyone else's. It means understanding that by being true to yourself, you give others permission to do the same. When you operate from this state of authentic kindness, you'll find that your relationships become deeper, more genuine. You'll attract people who appreciate and respect the real you, not just the agreeable facade you've been presenting. You'll find yourself in situations that truly align with your desires and values, rather than those you've reluctantly agreed to out of a misplaced sense of obligation. Remember, the world doesn't need another martyr. The world needs you, the real, authentic, fully expressed you. That is the greatest kindness you can offer. Now let us explore the third way in which kindness, when misapplied, can ruin your life. Kindness, when used as a means of controlling outcomes or manipulating others, can lead to disappointment, resentment, and a distorted view of relationships. Many of us, consciously or unconsciously, use kindness as a sort of cosmic bargaining chip. We believe that if we are kind enough, giving enough, selfless enough, the universe or the people in our lives will reward us with what we desire. We give with the expectation of receiving. We are kind with the hope that this kindness will be returned. In essence, we are trying to control the behavior of others and the outcomes in our lives through our acts of kindness. But my dear friends, this is not how the universe operates. The law of assumption tells us that it is not our actions, but our state of consciousness that creates our reality. When we give with the expectation of receiving, we are operating from a state of lack. We are assuming that we need to manipulate external circumstances to get what we want, rather than assuming the state of already having our desire fulfilled. This kind of conditional kindness often leads to disappointment and resentment. Where our kindness is not reciprocated in the way we expect, we feel cheated, unappreciated. We may even become bitter, thinking, after all I've done for them, this is how they treat me. But in reality, we were never truly giving. We were engaging in a transaction with kindness as our currency. True kindness, my friends, comes with no strings attached. It is not a means to an end, but an end in itself. It is a natural expression of our divine nature, flowing from a state of abundance and love. When we give from this state, we do so joyfully, with no expectation of return. We give because giving is its own reward. Imagine, if you will, a beautiful rose bush in full bloom. Does the rose demand anything in return for its beauty? Does it withhold its fragrance from those who do not appreciate it enough? No, the rose simply is. It blooms because that is its nature. Its beauty and fragrance are given freely to all who pass by, whether they stop to admire it or not. You, my dear listeners, are like this rose. Your kindness, your love, your divine essence is meant to be expressed freely, not as a means of control or manipulation, but as a natural overflow of who you truly are. To shift from conditional kindness to true unconditional kindness, we must once again turn to our imagination. We must assume the state of already having all that we desire. From this state of completeness, of abundance, kindness flows naturally with no need for reciprocation. Imagine yourself as a being of pure light, radiating love and kindness in all directions. This light doesn't discriminate. It doesn't calculate. It simply shines because that is its nature. From this state, your kindness becomes a gift to yourself as much as to others. It becomes a joyful expression of your true nature rather than a means to an end. When you operate from this state, you'll find that your relationships transform. You'll no longer feel the need to keep score or expect anything in return for your kindness. You'll be free to give without attachment, to love without condition. And paradoxically, you'll likely find that you receive more than ever before. Not because you're manipulating others through kindness, but because you're aligning yourself with the abundant, giving nature of the universe. Now let us delve into the fourth and final way in which kindness, when misunderstood, can ruin your life. Kindness, when it becomes a fixed identity rather than a fluid expression, can limit your growth and prevent you from fully embodying all aspects of your divine nature. Many of us, in our quest to be good people, latch onto kindness as a primary identity. We pride ourselves on being the kind one, the nice guy, the one who always helps others. While this may seem noble on the surface, it can actually become a cage that limits our full self-expression and prevents us from growing into the multifaceted beings we truly are. You see, my dear friends, you are not just kind. You are not just any one thing. You are a divine, infinite being capable of embodying all states of consciousness. You contain within you the potential for every human quality and experience. When you fixate on kindness as your primary identity, you may inadvertently suppress other aspects of yourself that are equally valid and necessary for your growth and the fulfillment of your purpose. There are times when we need to be firm, when we need to say no, when we need to express anger or disappointment. There are times when we need to be selfish in order to honor our own needs and boundaries. There are times when we need to be competitive, assertive, or even ruthless in pursuit of our goals. All of these states are part of the human experience, and all have their place in a fully lived life. But if we've built our identity around being the kind one, we may find ourselves unable to access these other states when they're needed. We may struggle to stand up for ourselves, to compete effectively, to express our anger in healthy ways. We may find ourselves stuck in situations that no longer serve us because we're afraid that leaving or saying no would be unkind. Remember, my friends, that consciousness is fluid. It is ever changing, ever evolving. Your true identity is not any fixed state or quality, but the awareness that can embody all states. You are the actor who can play any role, the artist who can paint with all colors. To truly understand this, we must once again turn to the power of imagination. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself as a vast, clear sky. In this sky, various clouds form and dissipate, clouds of kindness, clouds of anger, clouds of joy, clouds of sadness. Notice how the sky remains unchanged, unaffected by the clouds that pass through it. It doesn't cling to the gentle, wispy clouds and reject the dark, stormy ones. It simply allows all clouds to form and pass. You are this sky. Your true self, your I am, is this vast, unchanging awareness. Kindness, like all states, is simply a cloud passing through you. It is an expression of you, but it is not you. When you truly understand and embody this truth, you free yourself from the limitations of any fixed identity. You become able to express kindness when kindness is called for, firmness when firmness is needed, anger when anger is appropriate. You become fluid, adaptable, able to meet each moment with exactly what's required. This doesn't mean that kindness becomes less important or less valuable. On the contrary, when kindness is no longer a fixed identity but a chosen expression, it becomes more genuine, more powerful. It becomes a conscious choice rather than a compulsive behavior or a means of maintaining an image. Imagine, if you will, a skilled martial artist. This martial artist is capable of great power and even violence when necessary. But it is precisely because they have cultivated this power that they can also choose gentleness. Their kindness is not born of weakness or fear, but of strength and conscious choice. You, my dear listeners, are like this martial artist. By embracing all aspects of your being, by allowing yourself to embody all states, you actually enhance your capacity for true kindness. You become kind not because you must, not because it's your only option, but because you choose to be in each moment. So how do we put this into practice? How do we free ourselves from the limitations of kindness as a fixed identity while still embracing kindness that is a mere beautiful expression of our divine nature? The key, as always, lies in our imagination. Begin by imagining yourself as that vast, clear sky, allowing all states to pass through you without clinging to any of them. Practice embodying different states in your imagination. Feel what it's like to be kind, then to be firm, then to be angry, then to be joyful. Notice how the awareness behind all these states, remain unchanged. In your daily life, start paying attention to the states you embody. Are there situations where you default to kindness out of habit or fear, even when another response might be more appropriate? Practice allowing yourself to respond authentically in each moment, rather than always falling back on kindness as a default. Remember, this is not about rejecting kindness. It's about freeing kindness from the confines of a fixed identity and allowing it to become a fluid, authentic expression of your true self.
As you practice this, you may find that your kindness actually becomes more powerful and genuine. You may find that you're able to set boundaries more effectively, to say no when necessary, to stand up for yourself and others in ways you couldn't before. You may find that you're able to pursue your goals with more determination and focus, knowing that you can be kind and assertive, gentle and strong.
My dear friends, as we come to the end of our exploration of these 4 ways in which kindness, when misunderstood, can ruin your life, I want to emphasize that this is not an indictment of kindness itself. Kindness, in its truest form, is a beautiful expression of our divine nature. It has the power to transform lives, to heal wounds, to bridge divides. What we've been discussing is not kindness itself, but the misunderstandings and misapplications of kindness that can limit us and keep us from fully expressing our true selves. By recognizing and moving beyond these limitations, we actually enhance our capacity for genuine kindness. Let's recap what we've discovered. First, we learned that kindness stemming from a place of lack or unworthiness can perpetuate a false self-image. The solution is to shift our consciousness to a state of completeness and divine self-worth, allowing kindness to flow naturally from our overflow. Second, we explored how kindness used as a means of avoiding conflict or suppressing our true feelings can lead to weak desperation. We learned that true kindness includes kindness to oneself, honoring our own needs and speaking our truth. Third, we discussed how kindness used as a means of controlling outcomes or manipulating others can lead to disappointment and resentment. We discovered that true kindness comes with no strings attached, flowing freely from a state of abundance. Finally, we examined how kindness, when it becomes a fixed identity, can limit our growth and prevent us from fully embodying all aspects of our divine nature. We learn to see ourselves as the vast awareness that can embody all states, including but not limited to kindness. Now, my dear friends, I invite you to take these insights and apply them in your own life. Begin to observe your acts of kindness. Are they coming from a place of lack or abundance? Are you using kindness to avoid conflict or to manipulate outcomes? Have you made kindness a fixed identity that's limiting your full self-expression? As you become aware of these patterns, don't judge yourself. Simply observe. And then, using the power of your wonderful human imagination, begin to shift your consciousness. Imagine yourself as that chalice overflowing with life, giving from your abundance. Imagine yourself speaking your truth with kindness and authenticity. Imagine yourself giving freely, with no expectation of return. Imagine yourself as that vast, clear sky able to embody all states as needed. Remember, you are not here to be just kind. You are here to be fully, gloriously, unabashedly you. You are here to express all aspects of your divine nature. Kindness is a beautiful part of that nature, but it is not the whole of it. As you liberate kindness from misunderstanding and limitation, you'll likely find that your capacity for true kindness actually expands. You'll find yourself able to be kind in ways you never imagined before. Kind to yourself as well as others, kind in your truth-telling as well as your comforting, kind in your boundaries as well as your giving. This, my friends, is the paradox and the promise of our exploration today. By examining how kindness can ruin your life, we've actually discovered how to enhance and deepen our capacity for genuine kindness. We've uncovered a path to a more authentic, more empowered, more fully expressed life. So go forth from here with this new awareness. Allow kindness to be a fluid, authentic expression of your true self rather than a limitation or a means to an end. Embody the state of already being all that you desire to be, and let your kindness flow naturally from that state of completeness. Remember, you are the operant power in your world. Your consciousness creates your reality. As you shift your consciousness around kindness, you'll find your outer world shifting to match. You'll attract relationships and circumstances that honor your authentic self-acting. You'll find yourself able to give and receive kindness in new and beautiful ways. This is the promise and the invitation I leave you with today. It is the call to step fully into your power as a divine creator, to embody all aspects of your true nature, including but not limited to kindness. It is the opportunity to transform not only your own life, but the lives of all those you touch. For when you express kindness from a place of wholeness, authenticity, and conscious choice, you become a living example of what's possible. You inspire others to do the same. And in this way, one person at a time, we can transform our world. So go forth, my dear friends, and be kind, not because you should, not because you must, but because you choose to from the infinite wellspring of your divine nature. Be kind and be all else that you are as well. For in embracing the fullness of your being, you fulfill your highest purpose and express your truest self. Thank you. And may your journey of self-discovery and authentic expression bring you to the full realization of your divine natures and the complete manifestation of your heart's desires. Let me share with you exactly what happens during these 3 days of transformed self-talk. The first day is often the most challenging, for you are going against every evidence of your senses. Your physical reality will still show you the old conditions, and your habitual self-talk will attempt to reassert itself. This is where most people fail. They allow what they see to dictate what they say to themselves. But I tell you this, your current circumstances are nothing more than your previous self-talk made visible. In the book of Hebrews, it is written, "Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear." Your self-talk is this very word of God that frames your world. Let me share with you the experience of a man who came to me seeking to transform his professional life. He had been stuck in a low-paid position for years, and his self-talk reflected this. I'm not qualified enough. Better opportunities are for others. I instructed him in this 3-day technique of self-talk. I instructed him in this 3-day technique of self-talk. For the first day, he was to speak to himself in a very specific way, not just arbitrary positive statements, but precise words that implied his desire was already fulfilled. When he looked in the mirror while dressing for work, instead of his habitual self-talk about another dreary day, he would say, I love being executive vice president. My decisions create tremendous value for the company. My leadership inspires others. Throughout that first day, whenever his mind wandered to his current circumstances, he would gently bring it back by speaking to himself from the end. I'm so grateful for my executive position. I handle these responsibilities with such ease. My contributions are highly valued and generously rewarded. The second day brings a subtle shift. Your new self-talk begins to feel more natural, less forced. This is a crucial point where many lose their way, thinking the technique isn't working because it's becoming effortless. But this very naturalness is the signal that your new self-talk is taking root in consciousness. During the second day, your self-talk should focus not just on statements of fact, but on the natural conversations you would have with yourself from your desired state. If you're manifesting perfect health, you don't need to constantly affirm, I am healthy. Instead, your self-talk might be, I love how easily I climb these stairs. This fresh energy feels wonderful. I enjoy choosing nutritious foods for my vibrant body. I recall a woman who was manifesting her ideal marriage. During her second date, she didn't just affirm, I am happily married. Her self-talk became the natural internal dialogue of a beloved wife. I love preparing our favorite dinner. Our evening walks together are so completely. It's wonderful sharing my life with someone who understands me so completely. The third day is where the magic truly unfolds, but it's also where many stumble because they are looking for external results. Remember, in the book of Genesis, God did not pause after each day of creation to check if it was working. The work was done in consciousness through the word, and the manifestation followed naturally. On this third day, your self-talk must be maintained with complete indifference to external circumstances. If you're manifesting financial abundance and you check your bank account to find it unchanged, your self-talk must remain steady. I love how money flows to me from expected and unexpected sources. I enjoy choosing the finest things in life. It's wonderful having more than enough to share generously. Let me reveal to you something profound about these 3 days. They correspond to 3 states of consciousness: initiation, transition, and acceptance. Your self-talk must reflect and support each state. The first day initiates the new concept. The second day bridges the new state. As something. A businessman once asked me why his previous attempts at positive self-talk had failed. Upon examination, I discovered he was changing his words, but not his state of consciousness. He would say, I am successful, while internally arguing with the statement. I taught him that true self-talk isn't about the words alone. It's about speaking from the consciousness of already being what you desire to be. Now, let me share with you the exact structure of self-talk that creates the most rapid transformation during these 3 days. Many attempt to change their lives through haphazard positive statements, but there is a specific pattern, a divine order to effective self-talk that most never discover. This pattern is revealed in Scripture, where it states, "Let there be, and there was, and God saw that it was good." This is your template for powerful self-talk during these 3 days. First, you declare what is to be. Then you acknowledge it as already existing. Finally, you express gratitude for its perfection. I want to give you a living example. A young doctor came to me, frustrated with his practice. His self-talk was filled with anxiety about patients, concerns about income, and doubts about his abilities. For 3 days, I instructed him to transform his self-talk following this divine pattern. Upon waking the first morning, his self-talk began. My practice is thriving. Patients seek me out for my exceptional care. I am known for my remarkable results. Throughout the day, whenever his old patterns of anxious self-talk attempted to surface, he would immediately shift to, "I love how smoothly my practice runs. Every patient interaction is satisfying and successful. My expertise brings healing to all who come to me." But here's the crucial point about your self-talk during these 3 days. It must be specific to your own desires and natural to your own way of speaking. Don't copy another's words. Your self-talk must feel like you, must flow naturally from your own consciousness, must be in your own voice. In the Psalms, it is written, "Deep calleth unto deep." Your self-talk must come from the depths of your being, not from the surface of your mind. When you speak to yourself during these 3 days, let the words rise from the consciousness of already being what you desire to be. Consider a teacher who came to me desiring to become a successful author. Her self-talk had been filled with doubt. Who would read my book? I'm not a real writer. I'll never finish this manuscript. I showed her how to structure her self-talk for the 3-day transformation. Instead of general affirmations about being a successful author, her self-talk became specific and natural. I love how readers connect with my stories. It's wonderful seeing my books in major bookstores. I enjoy signing copies for my devoted readers. These weren't just positive statements. They were the natural thoughts and words of someone already living her desired reality. Here's another vital aspect of the 3-day transformation that few understand. Your self-talk must encompass all 3 time frames, morning, day, and night, but in a specific way. Your morning self-talk sets the tone for the day and must be done before engaging with the world. Your daytime self-talk maintains the state. Your nighttime self-talk maintains the subconscious mind for manifestation. Let me share with you the exact method for nighttime self-talk that produces the most powerful results. As you prepare for sleep, your self-talk should take the form of grateful reflection. What a wonderful day in my thriving practice. I love how easily everything flows. Tomorrow brings even more opportunities to serve and succeed. This nighttime pattern of self-talk is crucial because it's your last conscious impression before entering the sleep state. In scripture, it says, in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, in slumberings upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of men, and sealeth their instruction. Your nighttime self-talk is this very instruction being sealed in consciousness. A businessman who mastered this technique shared with me his experience. For 3 days, he maintained the most rigorous attention to his self-talk, especially during the drowsy state before sleep. His inner dialogue was consistently from the state of already being a successful entrepreneur. My business generates tremendous value. I love leading my team to greater achievements. Every decision I make creates positive results. By the third morning, before any physical evidence appeared, he knew with absolute certainty that his world had shifted. His self-talk had transformed from effort to natural expression of his new state. When opportunities suddenly appeared that transformed his business, he recognized them as the inevitable manifestation of his 3 days of transformed self-talk. But here's something crucial about the 3-day transformation that most miss. You must maintain your new self-talk, even when circumstances seem to contradict it. In fact, contrary circumstances often appear during these 3 days as a test of your resolve. This is where most people falter, allowing external evidence to destruct their self-talk. Your self-talk must not only change in content, but in consciousness. The words themselves are merely the surface. It's the state from which they emanate that holds the true creative power. In the book of Matthew, it states, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. Your self-talk during these 3 days must flow from the heart, the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. This is why mechanical repetition of positive phrases fails to produce results. The words must be spoken from the consciousness of already being what you desire to be. I knew a woman who struggled with this principle until she grasped its essence. She desired to be a successful artist, but had never sold a painting. Her initial attempt at self-talk was mechanical. I am a successful artist. My paintings sell easily. But there was no transformation because she was speaking from her current state of lack. I taught her to first assume the consciousness of a successful artist, then let her self-talk flow naturally from that state. Her internal dialogue transformed. I love how collectors respond to my work. It's wonderful having my paintings in prestigious galleries. I enjoy deciding which exhibitions to participate in next. During these 3 days, Your self-talk must reflect three levels of consciousness: being, having, and experiencing. Most people focus only on having, which is why their manifestations are temporary or never appear. Your self-talk must encompass all three. Let me illustrate this principle. A man came to me desiring financial abundance. His self-talk had been focused entirely on having money. I have unlimited wealth. I showed him how to structure his self-talk to include all three levels. Being, I am financially wise. I am a masterful creator of wealth. Having, I have abundant resources. I have multiple streams of income. Experiencing, I love choosing the finest experiences in life. I enjoy sharing my abundance generously. This three-level self-talk must be maintained consistently throughout the 3 days. Upon waking, your first thoughts should naturally flow from this expanded consciousness. Throughout the day, your internal dialogue should reflect all three levels. Before sleep, your final thoughts should encompass this complete state. Here's another crucial aspect of the 3-day transformation. Your self-talk must be in harmony with the law of assumption. In Scripture, it states, all things whatsoever ye pray and ask for, believe that ye have received them, and ye shall have them. Your self-talk must come from the consciousness of already having received. Consider a man who wanted to transform his relationships. His habitual self-talk had been, I'm always alone. Nobody understands me. I'll never find true love. For 3 days, I instructed him to speak from the consciousness of already being in perfect relationships. I love how easily I connect with others. Every interaction enriches my life. My relationships are deep and meaningful. I attract exactly the right people into my life. My presence brings joy to others. I am surrounded by love and understanding. But here's the vital point. These words weren't chosen randomly. They flowed naturally from his assumed state of being someone who enjoys wonderful relationships. This is why your self-talk during these 3 days cannot be scripted by another. It must be the natural expression of your assumed state. Let me share with you the exact pattern of self-talk for each of the 3 days. The first day, your self-talk establishes the new state. I am now the person I desire to be. The second day, your self-talk normalizes this state. This is my natural way of being. The third day, your self-talk expresses gratitude for the state. How wonderful to be living this reality. A woman who applied this pattern to transform her health shared her experience with me. Her first day's self-talk established her new state. I am radiantly healthy. Every cell in my body vibrates with vitality. Perfect health is my natural state. The second day normalized this state. I love how easily I maintain perfect balance. When I feel exhausted, I refuse I feel grateful to God. I feel grateful to God. My body knows exactly how to maintain perfect balance. I feel grateful to God. I state. She transformed her body ever since then. I doubtful myself as a professional, but I'm mentally On the third day, her self-talk expressed gratitude for her state. I'm so grateful for my perfect health. It's wonderful having this abundant energy. I appreciate how my body maintains perfect wellness effortlessly. By the end of the third day, she no longer needed to monitor her self-talk. It flowed naturally from her new state of consciousness. Now let me reveal to you the culminating secret of this 3-day transformation through self-talk. The completion of these 3 days is not marked by external changes, but by an internal shift so profound that you no longer need to monitor your self-talk, because it naturally flows from your new state of consciousness. In Ecclesiastes, it is written, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven." These 3 days represent the season of transformation, but they must be followed by something most people neglect, the Sabbath of rest. After 3 days of conscious self-talk, you must rest in the conviction that the work is done. A remarkable example of this principle was demonstrated by a man who had struggled with poverty consciousness for decades. For 3 days, he maintained the most exquisite attention to his self-talk. Every word that passed through his mind reflected the consciousness of wealth. I am the embodiment of abundance. I live in the endless stream of prosperity. By the end of the third day, something profound had shifted. He no longer needed to remind himself to speak from wealth consciousness. It had become his natural state. His self-talk flowed effortlessly from this new consciousness. Which of my investments shall I explore today? How can I best utilize these abundant resources? What wonderful opportunities shall I explore next? This is the true test of successful transformation, when your self-talk no longer requires effort or monitoring, because it naturally reflects your new state of consciousness. Just as you don't need to remind yourself to speak as who you are now, your new self-talk becomes the natural expression of who you have become. Let me share with you the final key to maintaining this transformation beyond the 3 days. Your self-talk must now become what I call your natural assumption. When you pick up a telephone, you naturally assume it will work. When you sit in a chair, you naturally assume it will hold you. Your new state must be maintained with this same natural assumption. Consider carefully what I tell you now. After these 3 days, if you find yourself slipping back into old patterns of self-talk, do not fight them. Instead, gently remind yourself, that was the old man speaking. I have crossed the bridge to my new state. Then resume your natural self-talk from your desired state. Remember the words in Scripture. Put off the old man with his deeds and put on the new man. Your transformed self-talk is the language of this new man. It is not something you do. It is something you become. The 3 days are merely the gestation period for this new birth. Let me conclude with this vital truth. Your self-talk is not just words. It is the very substance of your world taking form. Every word you speak to yourself is a seed planted in the fertile soil of consciousness. These 3 days of transformed self-talk are your concentrated period of planting, but the harvest will continue indefinitely if you maintain the state. The power to transform your entire life lies in your self-talk, but not in the superficial way most people understand. It is not about forcing positive thoughts or fighting negative ones. It is about speaking from the consciousness of already being who you desire to be. 3 days of consistent, conscious self-talk from this new state will transform your world. I leave you with this challenge. Begin your 3 days now, not tomorrow, not when circumstances are better, but now. Speak to yourself from the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. Maintain this new self-talk for 3 consecutive days. Watch as your world transformed to match your words. For it is written, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Your self-talk is this very power. Use it wisely, use it consistently, and use it now. The next 3 days can transform your entire life, if you will but speak to yourself from the consciousness of already being who you desire to be. The choice is yours, and the time is now. Your 3 days of transformation await. Begin this very moment to speak to yourself as the person you desire to be, and watch as your world reshapes itself to match your words. For this is the law, and this is the promise, and this is the power that has been given to you. Use it, prove it, and live it. The word is in your mouth and in your heart, ready to be spoken. Speak it now. Speak it with conviction, and speak it from the consciousness of fulfillment. Your 3-day journey to transformation begins with the very next words you speak to yourself. Make them count, make them powerful, and make them the truth you desire to experience.
Hold on, God is still working. My friends, do not be deceived by appearances. You may look around and see no evidence. You may feel forgotten, delayed, or even forsaken. But I say to you now, hold on, for God is still working. The silence is not absence. The stillness is not abandonment. The delay is not denial. All creation begins in the unseen. The seed of your desire, once imagined, is already sown in the fertile ground of the infinite. Though you do not yet see its form, it is growing, expanding, reaching toward the appointed hour. Do not pluck it up with doubt. Do not kill it with impatience. You are not waiting on life. Life is responding to you. The moment you dare to assume your wish fulfilled, the gears of heaven turned in your favor. There is no outer circumstance, no delay, no how that can interfere with the power that has already said yes. The great I am in you is not bound by time. It works in secret, yet it never sleeps. It is always arranging, always drawing near, always aligning. When you hold firm to the end, when you persist in the knowing that it is done, you prove that your faith is not in what the eyes can see, but in what the heart has claimed. Even now, even here, beneath what seems like silence, the promise is unfolding. Every detour is a setup. Every challenge, a sculptor's tool. Nothing is wasted. Every moment is working toward the fulfillment of what you dared to believe. So hold on, not with clenched fists, but with quiet trust. Do not beg the power. Assume it is already yours. Walk in that knowing. Live from the end. Speak as though it were already a fact. Feel it real. and the world must mirror your conviction. You are not waiting on a miracle. You are the channel through which the miracle enters this world. So when doubt knocks, when fear whispers, when logic says it's too late, remember this: God is still working. The promise is alive, and the unseen hand is never still. Hold on. It is already yours. What you see with the natural eye is but a shadow, a reflection of the deeper invisible world. The world of form, the world of touch, sound and sight, is nothing more than an echo of the unseen. Everything that appears did not begin with matter. It began in the invisible realm of consciousness. It began with a thought, a feeling, an idea clothed in belief. And so to trust only in what you can touch is to live as one asleep, mistaking the dream for the dreamer. The unseen is real. In fact, it is more real than what you see, for it is the cause. The visible world is the result. It is the print left by the foot, but not the foot itself. And the foot, what you might call the spiritual substance, is your awareness, your imagination, your inner conviction. What you cannot yet see but have accepted in consciousness is already shaping into form. If you understood this, truly you would never again beg life to change. You would never chase the future or fight the moment. Instead, you would go inward, where the real work happens. You would remember that all power is housed in the unseen realm of imagination. There is a creative power in you, and it is not separate from what we call God. It is the I Am presence, that which says I am rich, and so becomes it. That which says I am healed, and so embodies it. But this power does not move by force. It moves by faith, by assumption, by feeling, by quiet knowing. It is tempting, especially in moments of lack, to measure life by what the senses report, to look around and say there is no change, or it isn't working. But the senses are only messengers of the past. They report on yesterday's belief. To trust them is to trust a map drawn by memory, not vision. So many abandon the promise because they cannot yet see the fruit. But the fruit takes time. First comes the root, and the root is always hidden. You would not dig up a seed the day after planting it, simply because you see no sprout. You understand that growth begins in darkness. So why do you doubt your inner work? Why do you question the process of creation when nothing has yet appeared? The tree knows better. The flower trusts the sun. The stars do not rush their rising. You must come to honor the unseen as sacred. Every time you imagine lovingly, you are creating. Every time you assume something true of yourself, you are commanding form. The moment you enter the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the unseen goes to work. You may not hear it. You may not see it, that you must know it is happening. This is the invitation to believe without needing proof, to walk in faith while the world still reflects the opposite, to persist not with force, but with stillness, not with panic, but with inner assurance. The unseen is not a maybe, it is not abstract, it is the blueprint, and it is governed by law. What you accept as true inwardly must eventually express outwardly. There is no exception to this principle. You are not a beggar at the gate of destiny. You are the dreamer, and the dream responds to you. The kingdom is within, and the doors to that kingdom open through the unseen channels of imagination, faith, and assumption. So train your inner eye. Turn away from the evidence of delay. Don't be fooled by the silence. The seed is growing, the ground is shifting, the promise is being fulfilled even now, behind the veil. Trust what cannot yet be touched, for it is there the real substance lives. The unseen is not a fantasy. It is the cause, and the cause is always greater than the effect. And that cause, dear friend, is your assumption. What is assumption? It is not wishful thinking. It is not repeating empty affirmations or hoping the universe will toss you a miracle. Assumption is an inner act. It is the deliberate occupancy of the state desired. It is claiming as fact what the senses have not yet confirmed. It is standing in the end, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, regardless of what the world says. Assumption is the bridge. It is the invisible link between the unseen and the seen. It is the permission slip you give to reality to reflect your inner state. The moment you assume something to be true of yourself, truly feel it and accept it without argument, you have sent forth a command into the field of creation. That command must be obeyed. This is not a maybe. This is not superstition. This is law. What you assume to be true, you will experience. The world is a mirror, and it does not reflect your wishes or your words. It reflects your assumptions. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are conscious of being. You cannot long hold the assumption of poverty and live in wealth. You cannot cling to the identity of the rejected and expect to be chosen. You cannot dwell in its not working and experience manifestation. The law does not bend to desperation. It responds to inner acceptance. And here is the beauty of it. The world does not need to change first. Nothing on the outside must shift before you assume the state you desire. You can do it now, right now. In this breath, in this moment, you can move into the feeling of your fulfilled desire. You can wear it like a garment. You can live from it before a single thing is changed. And when you do, the changes will come. The evidence will follow. The outer must rearrange itself to reflect the new assumption. Assume what you desire, not as a dream, but as a fact. Speak from it. Feel from it. Think from it. Not toward it, but from it. There is a vast difference. Hoping is passive. Assuming is creative. You may say, but I've assumed and nothing happened. Then I say to you, did you truly assume? Or did you visit the state like a tourist, only to retreat when the world didn't instantly comply? Assumption is not a momentary mood. It is a sustained inner knowing. It is dwelling, not peaking. It is living in the end, not glancing at it. Every time you return to the old story of lack, of fear, of delay, you pull the energy back into the former state. But every time you persist in the new assumption, despite appearances, you water the seed. You anchor the truth. You affirm the power of the unseen. There is no need to force the outer world. You do not chase change. You embody it. You assume the role inwardly and let light follow your lead. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the engine. When you feel it is done, your body may not yet know, your eyes may not yet see, but your world is already shifting. This is how miracles happen, not from begging, but from assuming, not from hope, but from knowing. The unseen world answers to the one who dares to dwell in the new state before it is visible. So the real question is never when will it come. The real question is, am I living in the assumption that it is already here? Because if you are, it must come. It has no choice. You do not need to know how. The how is not your job. You are the dreamer. You are the one who moves within. The how belongs to the law. It belongs to the unseen forces that respond to your state of being. Assume it, live it, be it, and watch the world rise to meet you. There is a great temptation to measure the progress of a desire by how quickly it shows up in the outer world. Many give up not because their assumption is untrue, but because the results are not immediate. They confuse delay with denial, and so they abandon the vision right as the tide begins to turn. But let this be clearly understood. A delay is not a no. A pause is not a rejection. Time is not your enemy. Time is the unfolding of your own inner state into visible form. Just because you have not yet seen the manifestation does not mean the process has not begun. Consider the seed planted beneath the soil. When you first drop it into the earth, there is no movement visible to the eye. You water it. You wait. Days may pass, perhaps even weeks, before the first green shoots push through the surface. But does that mean nothing was happening? Quite the contrary. The moment the seed touched the soil, life began moving. The ground was working. The roots were forming. The pattern of the tree was already encoded in that silent moment of planting. So it is with your desire. The moment you assumed it, truly assumed it, it was planted in the fertile field of the subconscious. And the subconscious is always faithful. It never forgets a seed. It never loses track of a command. It does not ask how long or is this possible. It only receives the impression and then sets the process in motion. The delay you perceive is not an absence of movement. It is the quiet, sacred unfolding of the promise. You must learn to live above the concept of time. You must rise into a consciousness where inner truth is not dependent upon outer evidence. If you have truly received the end in consciousness, then it is done. Whether it takes a day or a decade is irrelevant, for you are already dwelling in the state of fulfillment. That fulfillment is not measured by how fast the world moves. It is measured by the depth of your conviction. Every so-called delay is actually a form of alignment. You are being prepared. Your environment is being shaped. Invisible doors are being constructed behind the curtain of time. The human mind, limited by the senses, sees only the pause, but the spiritual eye sees orchestration. The wise do not rush the promise. They rest in it. They know the moment they assumed the state, it became real. Time is only the stage on which the invisible truth plays out. When you feel discouraged by the weight, return to the inner scene. Revisit your assumption. Feel it more deeply. Embody it more fully. Persist in it more faithfully. For that is how you honor the law. That is how you remain aligned with the creative power that responds to the inner man, not the outer cry. You may not realize it, but every delay is testing the strength of your inner eye. It is asking you to choose again. Will you continue to dwell in the truth you've assumed, or will you revert to the old story? Simply because the evidence hasn't yet appeared. This is the sacred tension between the invisible and the visible. And in that space of seeming stillness, the whole of life is deciding how to move in your favor. Those who collapse under delay often miss the miracle by inches. They uproot the seed with doubt. They return to begging. They say, I believed, but it didn't happen. Not realizing that the very act of abandoning belief is what broke the chain. You must hold firm, not as a form of force, but as a form of knowing. Though I do not yet see it, I know it is mine. That is the language of those who understand. There is nothing lost in delay. If your assumption remains alive, if the state lives in you, then life must bring you into harmony with it. Do not look at the clock. Do not check the mirror of the outer world every hour to see if it has responded. That kind of vigilance betrays fear. True faith knows the outcome is already settled. It no longer watches for the result. It lives from it. And that brings us to the great key. To live from the end. This is the secret buried in every miracle. This is the golden thread that runs through all true creation. To live from the end is to act, think, feel, and dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled before it has shown up in the world of senses. It is not hoping. It is not waiting. It is being. When you live from the end, you make the unseen state your dwelling place. You think as the person who already has the thing. You walk as though it were done. You speak not as one who is asking, but as one who has received. And by doing so, you give the subconscious its instruction. You impress upon it the image of fulfillment. And because the subconscious only responds to what you feel is real, it begins to shape the world around you to match that feeling. Do not confuse this with pretending. Pretending still holds within it the belief that the desire is not yet real. Pretending says, I will act as if I have it, while inwardly confessing that it is still missing. But to live from the end is different. It is to know it is done. It is to have seen the end in imagination, so clearly, so vividly, that the body and mind begin to respond as though it were already true. This is the difference between waiting for a thing and becoming it. Waiting is passive. It implies lack. It keeps you in a state of not having, but becoming is active. It is inner movement. It is a shift in identity. You no longer identify with the seeker. You identify with the one who has already found. If your desire is to be wealthy, then live from the state of wealth. Feel yourself as one who already has abundance. How would you think? How would you walk? What would you expect from the world? Let those answers inform your inner dialogue. Let them shape your reaction. Let them build a new concept of self within you. If your desire is for healing, then live from the state of wholeness. Do not identify with the sickness. Do not speak from the pain. Instead, assume the state of the healed. Feel vitality. Speak strength. Dwell in the consciousness of well-being. And the body, being obedient to the mind, will respond. This is not delusion. It is creation. The world around you is only a reflection of your inner world. When you live from the end, you are not denying reality. You are reshaping it from its source. You are the cause. You are the beginning of every scene you will later walk through. And if you dare to dwell in the end, the middle will right itself. The bridge of incidents will form. The steps will arise. And all things necessary to bring you into alignment with that end will appear. But they will appear naturally, effortlessly, without strain. You will not need to push or chase. You will be led. You will be moved. And you will arrive. Not because you struggled to get there, but because you lived there long before it came into view. To live from the end is to embody the end. To walk in it, not just during meditation, but in every moment. You wake in it. You fall asleep in it. You make decisions as though it were true. You let its vibration become your home. This is the true work, not efforting in the outer world, but maintaining the inner state. And that work is done in stillness, in imagination, in silent agreement with the truth that already exists within you. If you can live from the end without wavering, without needing constant reassurance, without trying to control every step, then you will experience what others call impossible. You will witness the unseen become seen. You will watch mountains move, not because you shouted at them, but because you no longer acknowledge them as real. This is the path of the inner mystic, the conscious creator, the one who knows that the end is not something to reach, but something to dwell in. That feeling is the secret, that assumption is the power, that delay is just the hand of divine timing, adjusting the world to your inner truth. So if you do not yet see the result, do not fret. If the path seems unclear, do not worry. The delay is not a denial, and the end is already available. Go there in consciousness. Live there in imagination, and let the world catch up. For it must, it always does. To walk by faith is to walk by vision, but not the vision of the eyes. It is to lean on an inner knowing, a quiet conviction that what you have accepted in consciousness must express itself in form, regardless of what the outer world currently reports. This faith is not blind, it is creative. It is not a denial of reality, but a recognition of a deeper reality beneath the surface of things. It sees beyond what is and lays hold of what must be, because the soul has already claimed it. Appearances will often contradict the promise. They will come to test your stance, to challenge your inner authority. The outer world may scream delay, may flash signs of contradiction, may parade conditions entirely opposite to what you have inwardly affirmed. But if you are ruled by appearances, you will bend like the wind. You will shift with every circumstance and abandon your creative power to the opinions of men and the evidence of the five senses. You will become reactive, not generative. But if you choose faith, real, active faith, you stand still in the midst of chaos. You see the storm, yet you declare peace. You see the lack, yet you declare abundance. You see the delay, yet you declare it is done. And this is not madness, this is mastery. This is the mark of one who has seen the truth and will not come down from it. Faith is not a feeling that everything is easy. It is the unwavering posture that says, I believe it is done, even when nothing has changed. It is knowing that what you assume is planting itself in the soil of the world and must grow. It is trusting the invisible law of life more than you trust the temporary shadows of circumstance. To give more power to appearances than to your inner conviction is to serve two masters. You affirm one truth in silence and bow to another in panic. This double-mindedness will only produce delay, confusion, and frustration. But to walk in faith is to be single-eyed. It is to turn fully toward the promise and say, no matter what I see, I know what I have chosen. I know what I have felt, and I will not be moved. This is why the power lies in assuming the end and remaining faithful to it, even when the outer world suggests otherwise. It is easy to believe when things go your way. But true power is found when nothing changes and yet you remain unchanged. You are not moved by what appears because you know appearances are always behind the truth. They lag behind consciousness. They are the echo, not the voice. Faith sees what is unseen. It chooses to remain loyal to the inner vision. It does not argue with the senses. It does not fight the outer facts. It simply walks forward, knowing that what is felt and believed within will outpicture itself in time. And if you understand this, then you will stop reacting to every appearance. You will stop fearing every delay. You will no longer give in to panic when the facts do not yet match the state you've assumed. You will see appearances as paper tigers, loud perhaps, but powerless. You are not here to bow to conditions. You are here to create them. And you create them by holding your inner state steady, by persisting in the assumption, by knowing that your faith is not in vain. It is the very substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. When you truly believe that what you desire is yours now, the world begins to move. People, events, situations all shift around the axis of your inner conviction. And it often happens so naturally, so subtly, that the untrained eye may call it coincidence. But you will know better. You will recognize the pattern, You will trace the outer change to the moment of inner acceptance. And then you will no longer be afraid of appearances because you will have proven to yourself that they are but clay, shaped by your faith. But while your faith works, it does so in silence. This is the part so few understand. God, the I am within you, the power that creates reality, moves not with noise or thunder, but in stillness. The greatest changes often begin with no fanfare. The most significant shifts happen beneath the surface, quietly, invisibly. There is a divine intelligence at work. Always, it does not need to announce itself. It does not need your help, your panic, or your timelines. It moves in silence. And when you understand this, you stop trying to force the result. You stop asking when and how and through whom. You begin to trust the silence as part of the process. The stillness is not empty. It is filled with activity. You may not see the roots, but they are growing. You may not hear the machinery, but the foundation is being laid. The silence between the assumption and its manifestation is not void. It is gestation. It is creation taking form in a realm your eyes cannot reach. And if you break the silence with doubt, with worry, with disbelief, you interrupt the work. But if you honor it, if you treat that silence as sacred, you allow the fullness of the manifestation to bloom in perfect order. God works in silence because truth does not shout. Power does not boast. Creation is not loud. You were not created with noise. The stars did not thunder their birth. The rose does not scream as it opens. The most glorious acts of life unfold in deep quiet, in hidden chambers, in sacred stillness. You must come to love the silence. You must make peace with the gap between seed and fruit. In that gap, everything is being prepared. And it is your job to remain faithful. Not frantic, not restless, not impatient, but faithful. What if the silence was proof that it was working? What if the lack of outer movement was the very evidence that the inner power had taken your assumption and begun to shape the form? Would you still worry? Would you still waver? Learn to see the silence as confirmation. Know that the work is happening even when you cannot perceive it. Trust the unseen hand of God within you. The I am that takes no orders, needs no permission, and consults no man. It moves according to law. It brings forth what you've accepted, not by noise, not by pressure, but by perfect orchestration. The world may mock your stillness. It may say you're doing nothing, but you are doing the greatest work of all. You are believing, you are assuming, you are persisting. And that is the secret work that no eye sees, yet every life is built upon. There is no need to tell everyone what you are manifesting. The silence is your sanctuary. The inner world is your workshop. Keep the sacred things sacred. Protect the vision. Cherish the feeling. Let the silence be your confirmation, not your confusion. For God, the creative power in you, works in silence. And when it is finished, when all things are in place, the result will be seen, and it will seem sudden. But it was never sudden. It was silent. It was steady. It was inevitable. And that is why you hold on. That is why you remain still. That is why you choose faith over appearance. Because even when you see nothing, even when you hear nothing, God is still working.
Most of humanity lives under a terrible misconception. They believe that their desires are wishes cast into an empty void, hoping against hope that somehow, some way, these desires might manifest in their physical world. But I tell you tonight that this is not how creation works. Your desires are not desperate feedings to an indifferent universe. They are recognitions, acknowledgments of what already is. When you desire something, you are not creating that thing. You are discovering it. You are becoming aware of a reality that exists parallel to your current experience. Every desire that stirs within you is evidence of a fulfilled reality existing in what I call the infinite states of consciousness. The wealthy version of you already exists. The healthy version of you already exists. The loved, the successful, the fulfilled version of you already exists. All of these states are as real and as present as the state you currently occupy. But here is where most people stumble. They acknowledge their desire, they may even believe it exists somewhere, but they do not know how to receive it. They continue to live from the state of want, the state of lack, the state of hoping and wishing. And living from these states, they can only perpetuate more of the same. You cannot receive abundance while dwelling in the feeling of poverty. You cannot receive love while harboring the consciousness of rejection. You cannot receive health while maintaining the mental atmosphere of disease. The art of receiving requires a fundamental shift in your understanding of reality itself. You must come to know, not merely believe, that consciousness is the only reality. Everything you see, everything you experience, every circumstance in your life is nothing more than consciousness externalized. The outer world is simply consciousness made visible. When you truly grasp this, you realize that to change your outer world, you need only change your consciousness. Now, what do I mean by consciousness? I do not mean your thoughts, though thoughts play a role. I do not mean your emotions, though emotions are indicators. By consciousness, I mean your state of being, your habitual dwelling place, the feeling of being that you carry with you moment by moment. It is the sum total of all your beliefs, assumptions, and mental attitudes crystallized into a persistent state. To receive what you want, you must learn to dwell in the consciousness of having it. Not hoping to have it, not working towards having it, but having it now. This is perhaps the most challenging concept for the rational mind to accept, because the rational mind is trained to accept only what the senses report. But I ask you to consider this. Did your current circumstances exist before you experienced them? Of course they did in consciousness. Every building you see existed first in the consciousness of the architect. Every invention began in the consciousness of the inventor. Every relationship began in the consciousness of connection. The secret lies in learning to live from the end. Instead of living from your current circumstance and trying to change them, you must learn to live from the consciousness of your fulfilled desire. You must feel yourself to be the person who already has what you want. You must think from that state, not about that state. Let me illustrate this with a simple example. Suppose you desire financial abundance. The typical approach is to acknowledge your current lack of money and then try various methods to acquire more. You might work harder, you might invest, you might pray or affirm. But all of these approaches begin with the premise of lack. They are attempts to get something you don't have. And as long as you operate from the consciousness of not having, you will continue to create experiences that confirm your lack. The correct approach is to assume the feeling of financial abundance right now. How would you feel if you were financially free? What would be your mental attitude? How would you view the world around you? What assumptions would you hold about yourself and your relationship to money? You must capture this feeling, this state of consciousness, and make it your dwelling place. This is not pretending. This is not positive thinking. This is not self-deception. This is recognizing and accepting a reality that exists beyond the narrow scope of your current sensory experience. The financially abundant version of you exists right now in what we might call a parallel reality. By assuming the consciousness of that version of yourself, you begin to merge with that reality. You begin to receive what has always been yours. But receiving is not a one-time event. It is a continuous process of maintaining the consciousness of having. Most people make the mistake of assuming their desired state for a few moments and then returning to their habitual consciousness of lack. They plant the seed and then immediately dig it up to see if it's thriving. They assume abundance in the morning and return to poverty consciousness by afternoon. Receiving requires persistence. It requires what I call living in the assumption. You must assume your desire is fulfilled and continue to assume it until it becomes natural to you. At first, it may feel strange or even false to assume you have what your senses tell you that you lack. But with practice, this new assumption becomes familiar, then comfortable, then natural. And when it becomes natural, when it becomes your new normal state of consciousness, then it must and will externalize in your physical experience. The universe has no choice but to conform to your consciousness. This is not a belief system, this is a law, as immutable as the law of gravity. Consciousness is the cause, and the external world is the effect. Change the cause, and the effect must change. Assume the consciousness of having your desire, and you must receive it in your outer experience. Now, I want to address a common obstacle that prevents people from receiving what they want. It is the belief in unworthiness. So many of you have been conditioned to believe that you must earn what you desire, that you must prove yourself worthy of your good. But I tell you that you were born worthy. Your very existence is proof of your worthiness. The fact that you can desire something is evidence that it belongs to you. God, the creative power of the universe, does not withhold good from anyone. There are no favorites in the realm of consciousness. The same power that creates abundance for one can create abundance for all. The same power that manifests love for one can manifest love for all. You do not need to earn what is already yours by divine right. Your only task is to accept it, to receive it, to allow it to flow into your experience. And you do this by assuming the consciousness of already having it. When you assume you are wealthy, you think the thoughts of a wealthy person. When you assume you are loved, you feel the feelings of a beloved person. When you assume you are healthy, you carry yourself with the vitality of perfect health. This assumption is not based on current evidence. In fact, it often contradicts current evidence. This is why it requires faith, not faith in some external deity, but faith in the creative power of your own consciousness. You must be willing to assume you're good in the face of contrary evidence. You must be willing to feel wealthy when your bank account suggests poverty. You must be willing to feel loved when your circumstances suggest loneliness. You must be willing to feel successful when your current situation suggests failure. This is the test of faith. Can you assume what you desire in spite of what you observe? Can you maintain the consciousness of having when your senses scream that you lack? This is a narrow gate that leads to fulfillment. Most people cannot pass through it because they trust their senses more than they trust their consciousness. But you must understand that your senses only report the past. What you see and experience now is the result of yesterday's consciousness. If you want to change tomorrow's experience, you must change today's consciousness. You must learn to disregard the evidence of your senses when it contradicts your desired state and rely instead on the evidence of your assumption. This brings us to the practice of receiving. How do you actually assume the consciousness of having what you want? The most effective method is through the use of imagination. Your imagination is not fantasy, it is the creative power of God within you. Through imagination, you can experience any state of consciousness as vividly as you experience your current state. Each night as you prepare for sleep, use your imagination to assume the fulfillment of your desire. If you want abundance, imagine counting money, paying bills with ease, making generous donations. If you want love, imagine intimate conversations, shared laughter, the feeling of being cherished. If you want health, imagine vigorous activity, compliments on your appearance, the sensation of perfect vitality. The key is to make these imaginal acts as real and as natural as possible. Do not imagine from the perspective of an observer watching yourself have these experiences. Imagine from the first-person perspective. See through your own eyes, hear through your own ears, feel through your own body. Make the imaginal experience so vivid that it becomes more real to you than your current circumstances. As you practice this night after night, you will begin to feel a shift in your consciousness. The assumption will start to feel natural. You will catch yourself thinking from the new state during your waking hours. You will find yourself making decisions and taking actions that align with your assumed reality. This is evidence that the assumption is taking root in your consciousness. But do not make the mistake of looking for immediate external confirmation. The physical world takes time to rearrange itself to match your now through consciousness. Be patient. Continue to assume. Continue to live from the end. The external change will come, but it must begin within you first. There is another important aspect of receiving that I must address, and that is the matter of resistance. Often, when people begin to assume a new state of consciousness, they encounter internal resistance. Old beliefs, old fears, old patterns of thinking rise up to challenge the new assumption. This is natural and expected. Do not be discouraged by it. When you encounter resistance, do not fight it. Fighting resistance only strengthens it. Instead, gently return to your assumption. When negative thoughts arise, do not argue with them or try to prove them wrong. Simply assume their opposite. When fear whispers that you cannot have what you want, assume that you already have it. When doubt suggests that your desire is impossible, assume that it has already manifested. Remember, you are not trying to convince your rational mind of anything. Your rational mind will find 1,000 reasons why your assumption is unrealistic. You are working at a deeper level, at the level of consciousness itself. At this level, there is no impossible, only assumed and not assumed. The art of receiving also requires that you maintain a state of gratitude. Not gratitude for what you hope to receive, but gratitude for what you have already received in consciousness. When you assume the fulfillment of your desire, you must also assume the gratitude that would naturally accompany that fulfillment. Feel thankful for your abundance, your love, your health, your success, whatever it is you desire. This gratitude is not an attempt to earn what you want through appreciation. You already have what you want in consciousness. The gratitude is simply an acknowledgement of that fact. It is the natural emotional response to having your desire fulfilled. And when you feel this gratitude consistently, it becomes evidence to your subconscious mind that the assumption is real. As you continue to practice the art of receiving, you will notice that your external world begins to shift in subtle ways. Opportunities will appear that were not there before. People will enter your life who can help you. Resources will become available that were previously hidden. These are not coincidences. They are the natural result of your changed consciousness seeking to express itself in physical form. But here is a crucial point. Do not become attached to how your good comes to you. Do not limit the ways in which the universe can deliver your desire. Your job is to assume the consciousness of having. It is the universe's job to work out the details of how it manifests. Trust in the wisdom of the creative process. Allow it to surprise you with its ingenuity. Sometimes your good will come through channels you never could have imagined. Sometimes it will come through people you never would have expected. Sometimes it will come in forms slightly different from what you originally envisioned, but perfectly suited to your true needs. Remain open to all possibilities. Do not insist that your desire manifests in exactly the way you think it should. There is also the matter of timing. Many people assume their desired state for a while and then become impatient when it does not immediately externalize. They begin to doubt the process and often abandon their assumption just before it is ready to manifest. This is perhaps the greatest tragedy in the realm of manifestation. Understand that there is a gestation period for every assumption. Just as a seed planted in the ground takes time to sprout and grow, an assumption planted in consciousness takes time to externalize. The length of this gestation period depends on several factors: how natural the assumption feels to you, how consistently you maintain it, and how much it differs from your previous state of consciousness. A small change in consciousness might manifest quickly, while a dramatic transformation might take longer. But time is irrelevant when you are living from the consciousness of already having what you want. When you truly assume your desire is fulfilled, you are not waiting for it to happen. You are enjoying it now in consciousness. This brings us to one of the most profound aspects of receiving, the realization that the thing desired is not really the goal. The goal is a state of consciousness, the feeling of being that the thing would bring. When you desire wealth, you are really desiring the feeling of security, freedom, and abundance that wealth represents. When you desire love, you are really desiring the feeling of connection, acceptance, and joy that love brings. When you desire health, you are really desiring the feeling of vitality, energy, and well-being that health provides. Here is the beautiful truth. You can have these feelings now, simply by assuming them. You do not need to wait for the external thing to appear before you can feel abundant, loved, or healthy. In fact, you must feel these things first, and then the external manifestation will follow. This is why the practice of receiving is so liberating. You do not have to wait for your circumstances to change before you can feel good. You can feel good now by assuming the consciousness of your fulfilled desire. And when you feel good now, you magnetize experiences that will justify and sustain that good feeling. Many people resist this approach because they believe it is unrealistic or dishonest to feel good when their circumstances suggest they should feel bad. But I ask you, which is more real, the temporary circumstances that surround you, or the eternal consciousness that creates those circumstances? Which is more honest, to feel bad because of current conditions, or to feel good because of the unlimited potential within you? Your circumstances are constantly changing. They are fluid, temporary, subject to the shifts in your consciousness. But your consciousness, your I am, is permanent, eternal, divine. When you learn to identify with your consciousness rather than your circumstances, you discover that you have the power to change any condition, to create any experience, to receive any good thing. This is the ultimate truth about receiving. You are not a victim of circumstances waiting for rescue. You are the creator of circumstances, constantly expressing your consciousness in physical form. Everything you want already exists in the infinite field of possibilities that is consciousness. Your job is not to create it, but to select it, not to manifest it, but to accept it, not to achieve it, but to receive it. As you learn to live from this understanding, your entire relationship with desire changes. Desire is no longer a source of suffering, a reminder of what you lack. Desire becomes a gift, a signal from your higher self pointing you toward a reality that already exists and is ready to be claimed. Every desire is an invitation to expand your consciousness, to assume a greater version of yourself. And when you accept this invitation, when you assume the consciousness of your desire fulfilled, you join the ranks of those who have liberated the supreme art of living, the art of receiving. You become one who walks through life knowing that every good thing is already yours, that every dream is already realized, that every wish is already granted. You need only to assume it, to accept it, to receive it. This is the message I leave with you tonight. Stop trying to get what you want and start receiving what you already have. Stop struggling to become who you want to be and start being who you already are in consciousness. Stop looking to the future for your fulfillment and start accepting the fulfillment that exists in this eternal now. Everything you want already exists. The wealthy you, the healthy you, the loved you, the successful you, all exist right now in consciousness. These are not potential realities waiting to be created. They are actual realities waiting to be received. And you receive them by assuming them, by feeling them to be true, by living from the consciousness of their fulfillment. This is not a technique to be practiced occasionally. This is a way of life to be embraced completely. When you fully understand that consciousness is the only reality, that imagination creates reality, that assumption creates facts, then you will never again feel helpless in the face of unwanted circumstances. You will know that you have the power to assume any state, to receive any good, to become any version of yourself that you can imagine. The art of receiving is the art of assuming. And the art of assuming is the art of living deliberately, consciously, divinely. It is the art of recognizing that you are not a human being hoping to have a spiritual experience, but a spiritual being having a human experience. It is the art of remembering that you are not separate from the creative power of the universe, but one with it, expressing it, embodying it in every moment. So I say to you, assume you're good. Feel your desires to be already fulfilled. Live from the end of your every wish. Do this not occasionally, not when you remember, not when you feel like it, but consistently, persistently, faithfully. Make it your habitual state of consciousness. Make it your normal way of being. Make it as natural as breathing. When you do this, you will discover what the mystics of all ages have known, that the kingdom of heaven is within you, that all things are possible to consciousness, that you and the Father are one. You will know the truth that sets you free, the truth that everything you want already exists, and that your only work is to learn the divine art of receiving it. This is your birthright. This is your inheritance. This is your destiny. Not to struggle and hope and wish, but to assume and receive and enjoy. Not to be at the mercy of circumstances, but to be the creator of circumstances. Not to wonder if your dreams will come true, but to know that they already are true in the only place that matters, in consciousness. Embrace this truth. Live this truth. become this truth. And as you do, we'll find that life becomes not a battle to be fought, but a gift to be received. You will find that every day brings new evidence of your assumptions made manifest. You will find that the universe conspires to confirm your every assumption of good. This is the promise I make to you. Live from the consciousness of having what you want, and you must receive it in your experience. This is not hope, this is law. This is not possibility, this is certainty. This is not theory, this is the way the universe works. Everything you want already exists. Your work is to receive it. And you receive it by assuming it, by feeling it to be true now, by living from the end of your every desire. This is the art of receiving. This is the secret of manifestation. This is the way of consciousness. Go now and receive your good. Assume your desires fulfilled. Live from the end. And watch as your wonderful imagination pushes out into your world of experience everything you have assumed to be true. The power is within you. The kingdom is within you. Everything you want is within you, waiting only for your recognition and acceptance. Receive it now. Assume it now. Live it now. For now is the only time there is, and consciousness is the only reality there is. And you are the consciousness in which all things exist and from which all things come. This is your truth. This is your power. This is your way of receiving everything you want. For everything you want already exists in the infinite creativity of your own divine consciousness.